To the Town Board Workshop Meeting, July 7, 2022. Please rise and salute the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Emergency exits are behind the town clerk and also the door you came in. Roll, please.
Supervisor Prodi?
Here.
Councilpersons Doyle? Here. We were waiting. Gutierrez?
Here.
Blackman?
Here.
Revitalization?
Here.
Great.
Okay, at this time, there will be a water operator presentation about the New York State Department of Health new lead and copper rule.
Hello, I'm Marco D'Antonio, SCBI Environmental Services, take care of the water district for you. So late last year, December, the EPA passed a new requirement for lead and copper rule revisions, and that affects every single public water supply in the United States. We are also directed by the New York State Department of Health and Dutchess County Department of Health to follow these guidelines. Basically, to sum it up in a nutshell, we have to do inventory of every single service line in our water district to ensure that there is no lead joints, no lead pipes, anything in that fashion, to make sure we provide clean, lead-free drinking water. So October 2024 is the deadline that all the inventory must be turned in. It's it seems it's 2 years off. It seems like a long ways away, but there's a lot of process that has to go through. And to accomplish this, it's going to be an effort between our company, the town, and the consumers of the water district to gather this information. So we physically have to look at every single service line. We have to take pictures. We have to document what type of material it is. We have to know when the houses were built, so we have to go through every record of all the houses here through the building department in the water district, and businesses, etc. And all that has to be documented and reported again by October 2024. So the hard part is verifying the service lines, access to the service lines, and access from the house to the mains. So again, we'll need help from the public and the town to accomplish this task, so we can make sure that we meet our deadline. So far, we've tested for lead and copper in our water district. We've had one hit since I've been here, and the one hit was due during COVID. And it was a location that was a bed and breakfast that hasn't been used during the COVID times, and the plumbing fixtures were just changed and probably were of a quality that maybe China or something like that had lead in it. It was not due to the service lines. So we tracked that down, but we still had to report it, and whether we had a hit or not, we still have to perform this task as required by, again, every single public water supply in the United States. Any questions? Yes.
Where does the town's responsibility stop? Is that at when the water enters the house, at the meter?
Excellent question. So, according to our laws, we own up until the shutoff, up until the curb valve. That does not exempt us from making sure that we identify if that service line is lead or not. If it is anything other than copper, it will have to be replaced. The next questions I'm sure are going to be asked: who's paying for it? Who's doing it? Who's responsible? That's something we need to talk about. So, New York State and the EPA are directing us to do this task, and there is no leniency. 100% compliant.
Can you test the water coming into the house to see if there's any trace of lead as opposed to ripping up the front lawn? I mean,
We have done that, and we continue to do that. That is not a 100% acceptable method.
okay,
It has to be visually verified.
okay.
So that is a portion of a method.
Okay. And if I remember in the report that was put together, the engineer's report for getting infrastructure money, that was one piece of it. So you had sort of calculated what it would cost to do that.
Correct. We did put that in there for total line replacement. And that's something that, grant-wise, we'd have to apply for, which is beyond the dates of what we have to accomplish right now.
No. You had an estimate for the investigation.
Oh, for the investigation part, yes. That was just the first part of the investigation.
Okay.
And there's other parts along with it. So that's, excavation, verification. So the first part is pretty much going through the inventory of auditing the building department's records of when the houses were built, and visual verification at the connection where the meter is. That does not verify anything in the street, which we also have to account for, and also anything beyond the house.
Okay. And you had a schedule for how long you thought it would take for the various pieces? I'm sorry to ask you that without having brought it myself. Do you have any recollection of that?
Yeah,
of the first phase?
The first half is going to probably be 8 months to a year, and then the other pieces of it, again, would have to be done. Again, we have to remember a lot of this will have to be done if there is excavation during warmer times. You don't want to rip up people's yards or roads or anything like that during the colder climates, because you're only going to cause more damage and incur more cost. So we want to look at that. We're also looking at hydro excavation, not just strictly
I'm sorry, hydro
excavation,
Oh, as a
which
way
is
to,
as a way to verify, because there's less damage to piping and all that. With manual digging, chances of damaging the pipe are extremely high. And if that happens, then we have to replace it. Chances, but you also have to figure in, if we expose it, and it is anything other than copper, probably should replace it at that time since it's exposed.
So are you looking for then approval for the $53,375 to begin?
To start the first half, correct. Yeah, it's a lot of time involved.
I have a question that maybe it's similar to what Leo already asked, but looking at the presentation that you sent, they've got a diagram of the typical water connection, the house,
right,
the meter, the middle, the boundary between the property owner and the water system or the municipal. But am I understanding that that distinction of sort of private property or municipal property water system is kind of irrelevant? We're just, it's a lead?
It's based on your laws for your community, so of who owns what, but the diagram is just is laying out a general diagram or picture of how a service line connects from a water main to a house. Who's responsible is going to be water district, water supplier dependent, how your laws are written.
Okay, do we need a determination on that, Ian, or have you taken a look at this already?
So Marco and I have had an initial conversation on this. There needs to be some further discussion with supervisors of the board with regards to how to fund this. There's a number of items tonight coming up with regards to the water district. So there's some conversations that probably should be had with regards to funding the projects. So this is something that the board should approve, will have to approve. But there's a little bit more discussion that needs to be had. And Marco and I have had conversations already, so that's in the works.
And this expense is eligible to be paid from the district's capital fund, right?
That's your call. That's not my call.
this would seem to me, if it's a capital improvement and there's a step that needs to be taken to determine
Yes, but
the
if
scope.
there's not enough money to cover it
Oh, for sure.
in that
That's a
line,
separate-
which
that's
there
a
isn't,
separate- Yeah.
we may have to borrow money.
There's also questions as to, these are the service lines, these aren't the main lines. Service lines are the responsibility of the homeowner. So there's some delineations to that need to be discussed and figured out. So there's further complications to this, so, and not a lot of guidance from the state with the law. So that makes it a little bit difficult for the municipalities. So that has been the initial conversations that I've had with Marco, and
Yeah. You're not the only municipality, like Ian was saying, that's had these same questions. I mean, I went through these classes, and a lot of the water operators and municipality officials that were attending had the same exact questions you have. Who's paying for it? How are we funding it? And it's basically the EPA doesn't care. It will happen. So it's up to you. And there's regulations that have to be followed and consequences if they're not. So that's further discussion. We'll have to discuss all that going forward.
And Damien, Marco completed a report which we submitted to the New York State Revolving Fund, and that was one of the items that was part of it, so hopefully that would bring us some money to at least pay for the first parts.
But you want to start now, right?
We have, we're up against the wall.
Yeah.
If we don't start now, we're putting ourselves in a big hole. Big hole. There's a lot of work, a lot of hours involved in this. A lot of manpower.
I think one of the things Ian said, and I've been thinking about it, is that this isn't the only water issue, so to speak, that we have right now in the town of Amenia.
I can't
This
hear
is
you.
not the only water issue we have right now going on in the town of Amenia. And I'm thinking that we definitely need to discuss this further. And are there parts of the project that would be accompanied with parts of the other projects? Those are some of my initial questions.
No, this is separate.
This is a separate item
This is separate from,
beyond.
getting additional wells or what other things we need to do for
Right.
the water district. This came out of nowhere
Right now, I
from the
understand
Department
that.
of Health.
And I was thinking about the funding. And, I don't understand, I mean, we're looking into funding. And, right now, there is no funding for this project.
No, there hasn't been there's funding. There's nothing has been approved for us yet.
Yes.
So what I just sent, I think Victoria, I sent you a link also yesterday for additional grants that are coming up. There's funding out there. We have to apply for it.
The problem with this is that there's not very likely to be grants for it because it's a maintenance item. And, I mean, you get grants if you have to add wells or if you have to purchase land, to do more wells and expand the district, or, if you have to close some wells and add new wells. I mean, there's money for that. But this is actually a maintenance issue.
It falls under the install, of the times, right? So goes back to the way they did things back then. I can tell you on our water supply, I've never come across any lead joints, goosenecks, or anything like that they call on our water supply yet. Doesn't mean that the galvanized lines that go to people's houses are not lead. They could be lead lined in the inside or lead on the outside, or cast lead galvanized. It depends on when they were put in, and the safest thing is to replace them. Of course, 20 years from now there'll be something else. All the plastic lines we use will be a problem. We can't really dictate what's going to happen in the future, but we know what we have to deal with now. And this, of course, all started because of Flint, Michigan. And the EPA is tightening up on a lot of regulations. You're going to see a lot more coming in the next couple of years here, a lot more. So New York State recommends, of course, in your presentation you see it, start ASAP. Again, we cannot miss this deadline. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. There's no leniency. There's no exceptions. Has to be met. It's directed by federal EPA. So it's not just New York State that's telling us. EPA is telling state, states are telling us.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there any public comment? About anything, but you need to go up to the microphone and identify yourself.
Hello, my name is Wendy Goydell, and I live on Bog Hollow Road, 375 Bog Hollow Road. I'm here tonight because the neighbors along Bog Hollow have been trying to rectify a situation on the road that seems impermeable. We have a neighbor who has allowed over the last 12 years the whole fronting of their property to accumulate a junkyard with multiple vehicles, rusted vehicles, equipment, boats, horse trailers, all that are rusted and just dumped there. Piles of leaching, supposedly cow feed. The smell is horrible, the look is disgusting, and their animals are continually misused. So we've called the ASPCA, we've called the Humane Society, we've called the town. The town's come over, police have come over when we've seen the animals on our properties. And each time, this family has avoided any kind of ramifications of any kind of rule or regulation. And we've written letters, we've recorded the events that are happening. We've submitted them. It's been going on for more than 2 years. And the question is, what the heck is going on? I mean, why is this something that is incapable of being addressed?
Well, it is being addressed, and we can't discuss it because it's pending litigation.
Yeah, but that's what we were told.
Yes, I know, you were told, but we did hire a new building inspector who has taken on all the complaints and is currently working with the town attorney.
Do you have any question, do you have any idea of how many more years we need to wait for this to happen? Something to happen that we can...
We're not looking at years. This is something, we're working on it now, and I can't discuss it anymore.
Thank you very much.
I will say, Wendy, that the building department has not been terribly aggressive in the past about actually acting on complaints in terms of enforcement. That's been a real weakness. The building department actually is entitled to do that, and I'm hoping that the new inspector will start doing that regularly, because there's no reason for a lawsuit if the town can actually levy fines and enforce these laws.
Actually, he is doing that, and he's
Right.
working with the town attorney.
Yeah, great, but it hasn't happened in the previous years.
But, I apologize that, I'm sorry that it's, taken so long, and we've been in court and out of court, but we have a person who is dedicated to this problem and working with the town attorney, and it will be addressed.
From your lips to God's ear.
My name is Gabe Reese, and I live in Bog Hollow as well, and I've been up in front of the board before about this very issue, and the cows still keep on getting out. I met with Tom Basil, the new zoning enforcement officer, and he came up my driveway. I told him that there were 7 cows in my field. that you couldn't see anymore because the grass was so high, but they were there. And he said, well, I just talked to Paul. This is the person that owns the cows. And he said he only has 3 cows. So I said to Tom, that's a lot of cow, S-H-I-T. You cannot believe what the neighbor says, that he owns 3 cows, when I just saw 7 walking across my front yard. So that's why I just want you all to know that everyone's been very kind to these people, and that's always a good thing to do. We all have tried. We've all been very kind to them. But when they pull the wool over your eyes so many times, you stop being kind, you just take action. I'm hoping Ian, right? Ian is our, I hope that you can move this along quickly, because we're losing patience. Losing patience. Pardon me? And value. Well, we've already lost that. The value is already diminished in our neighborhood, believe me. No one wants to live there. What I wanted to say, too, about our neighborhood, it's the Wild East out there. If you ever go down Bog Hollow to Kent, and Kent has ordinances, and people usually behave themselves and take care of things, there are so many gun people on our road now buying bigger pieces of property, 70 acres here and there, which people didn't buy before because they were too hard to develop. Now, because land is so sought after, they're buying it. And these people are gun crazy. They shoot guns all the time. And I don't mean just hitting tin cans in an afternoon, a few tin cans. I mean automatic weapons all afternoon. I'm not sure where the ammunition is coming from, but it's really, I'm hoping our town can put an ordinance in, regulations about shooting guns. There should be a time period, a time frame. It shouldn't be just anytime you want to go out and shoot a gun, you can go out and shoot a gun. I mean, as we all know, what's been happening in our country with guns and crazy people using guns, killing people, it's a little nerve-wracking, to be honest, to be quite honest. And I hear it usually on a Saturday afternoon or a Sunday afternoon. I'm at work during the week. I don't hear it, but it's usually weekends when you want to go home and have a beer, hang out. Constant gunfire. I know there's ordinances about sound or noise pollution, but there's got to be something else that makes more sense. If you all can think about it, I really appreciate it. That's all I have to say.
Okay.
Unless you have any questions.
No.
But come over Sunday afternoon and we can sit on the front porch and
Well, I may do that.
enjoy the gunfire.
I don't enjoy gunfire, and I'll come visit you.
You bet, anytime. Victoria, anytime.
Is there any other public comment? Town clerk report?
Is she sure? Are you sure?
Want to say something?
Go ahead.
My name is Anna Hajduk. I'm married to Bob Barlow, who owns a house where I live on Bog Hollow Road. And I came to support Gay and Wendy and all the neighbors that are seeing these problems happen. I drive by the junkyard and it's really depressing, and I imagine all the leaking stuff there going into the bog. When I drive to Wendy's or Gay's, I do smell the cows, and I haven't seen the cows yet. They must be very pretty in your yard, but yeah. I think it's something that needs to be addressed. And about the gunshots, I do hear them a lot on weekends. And it is very disturbing. I don't see why that can be so, unregulated. We all have a right to feel safe in our homes and our neighborhoods and feel proud of our neighborhoods. That's all I can say.
Thank you.
Anna, again, there is something in the code about noise regulation, but again, the building inspector has not has chosen not to enforce it when I'm quite sure that he has the ability to do that. So again, I have high hopes for the new building inspector that he'll start following up on these complaints.
Yes, yes, it would. And the times that, you're hearing the gunshots and the days, and keep a record.
Could you send me that ordinance, Leo?
Sure.
Because the more information we have, the better, the better it is. Okay? Okay, Town Clerk report.
Good evening. I'm reporting for the month of June 2022. The total state, county, and local revenues collected in the town clerk's office was $431.50, with the total local share being remitted to the supervisor in the amount of $397. I had the opportunity to meet with a candidate who has expressed an interest in being the records clerk in the town clerk's office, as well as the bank reconciliation clerks. So at this time, I'd like the board to support me as I'd like to appoint Christine Chamberlain as the records clerk for the town clerk's office at a rate of $16 an hour. She'll be working evenings and on Saturdays. And that is filling the open position of Patty Swiskey. Thank you.
I'll make that motion.
Damian,
I'll second that.
Leo. Supervisor Prodi,
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle,
Yes.
Gutierrez,
Yes.
Blackman,
Yes.
Revlard.
Yes.
Also this evening, I'm sharing with the board, which we've received via circulation of email, is 2 resignations. The first resignation that we received is from Stacy Mantle. She's resigning from the Amenia Wastewater Committee. And the second resignation that I'm announcing is Barbara Ratonik from the Recreation Commission. And those are the only 2 resignations I have at this time.
Make a motion that we accept with regret the resignation of Barbara Ratovnik and Stacy Mantle.
Barbara Richovic from Recreation Commission and Stacy Mantle from Wastewater Committee.
And I'll second that.
Leo. Supervisor Prodi,
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle,
Yes.
Gutierrez,
Yes.
Yes.
Blackman, and Revlard.
Yes.
With that being said, I'd also at this time ask the town board permission to go ahead and add those 2 items to the circulation that I currently have out there. We do have our alternate ZBA, we have our CAC, we have our Board of Assessment Review, we have our historian, and now I'm looking to add wastewater and recreation to that continued list, as well as continue the listing for the open part-time clerk for the building department. So I'm going to go ahead and re-advertise using it open until we can fulfill these.
Can I make a motion to authorize the town clerk to run a classified ad for the part-time file clerk for the building department and to do a press release for the other openings?
Second.
Supervisor Prodi,
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle,
Yes.
Gutierrez,
Yes.
Blackman.
Answered
I know
too
you're so
fast,
excited.
sorry.
I looked at you and you're ready.
Yes.
Yes.
And I'm sure someone in tonight's will be announcing this year's recreation, but I know Vicki had asked if I get any on Indeed to go ahead and send those to her. We only got 1 email letter of interest for a summer camp counselor position, but I didn't reply back.
Were there none from the Millerton News?
This was from the
Oh.
Millerton Noon. There was none from the Indeed,
None
but it
others.
was, there's
Okay.
nothing else that went with it, so that's why I didn't send it.
Okay.
With the information that you had shared.
So there were no other responses? Okay.
So, just so you guys know that. And that will be it at the moment. So you guys continue through other reports.
Oh, so you're completed?
I
Okay.
promised you quick tonight.
Yeah, kind of
Sorry.
ran right through it.
Yeah.
Recreation Commission report, Paul?
Good evening, everybody. As you guys know or aware, I'm now the Recreation Commission Chairman. Something that we have been working on the past 2 months is working on a plan for Wausai Borden Park. I have circulated our plan to you guys. It's, our requirements would be to maximize the use of the Wausai Park, including the possibility of clearing and reconfiguring the property to accommodate requirements. Establish a dog park separate from the baseball field for large and small dogs. Incorporate hiking and fishing elements into the plan. Establish a multi-use field concept. Relocate the children's playground from the current Wausai Park location out to the center of the hamlet next to Gridley Church. The land has been offered to us at $1 a year. Extend and expand the current picnic table area that's also at the down towards the end of the Gridley property there. At the intersection, we have a couple tables. We would like to add some more tables there. Incorporate a larger basketball court. Determine options for improved parking access. That's a big problem down there. We don't have good parking access. From my adventures of walking around down there, I believe that we could improve the area either along Borden Lane. There's areas that we could talk to, Pauling Corp, and see if we could establish some parking there, or if the town board finally gets moving forward with moving the town garage out on the Route 22, we could use or utilize some of that area there for parking for that area. Another thing that was really brought up during our survey was security and safety down there. So we would ask the town board to consider putting up a couple cameras that would be remote. And then as we're doing this dog park, at the same time, we would like to consider doing a dog park down here at the town hall. And then also we would like to start looking at possibly establishing like town pavilions in the center of Wausai and possibly here in the town of Amenia. So with this idea, if you turn to the last page, I have a list of 3 landscape architects that you guys could reach out to. We would like you guys to consider hiring one of these people within the next 30 days so that the landscape architect could actually come up with a true plan of our ideas, and then we could set a timeline for getting this completed, within the next year. These items that we picked here are easy things that we can do, and we truly believe that it's something that can be done within the next 365 days. I mean, it's not hard to do. Clear some, trees, establish some walking trails, a better basketball court, some bleachers, things like that. It's not a complicated thing. I know that the town has been trying to improve that park for years, and it's not been successful at this point, so we're hoping to change that this year. Also, I had sent you guys earlier the past couple of weeks a list of items that we would like the town board to consider. In my time in the past 3-4 months of being on the commission, it seems like there's a lot of confusion as to what the commission is responsible for and what the town board is responsible for. So I asked the town clerk to research back to the original establishment of the Rec Commission as to what the rules were, right? Because there's New York Senate Law, Chapter 13, sets out the guidelines for what it would be to be a Rec Commission. Those are considered like bylaws. So when I was appointed to the commission, I didn't receive any bylaws, so I really don't know what I'm supposed to be doing, right? So I've been trying to learn how to do that the past 3 months. It's complicated sometimes, but we're moving forward. So I would ask the town to establish proper bylaws now that wasn't done back in 2006, not just for the current commission, but for a commission 20 years down the road. So that way, as people are coming onto the commission, they know what they're supposed to be doing. So that's that. Now, to the big thing here. So baseball did not happen this year for this town, right? We have Weebatuck Little League is now running the baseball for both Millerton and Amenia. And with that said, if you look at the operating statement for the period ending 5/31/2022, from line item 71451 to 71804. That's, I'm sorry, that's wrong. 73104 to 73104, 1.98. That is all for baseball. That totals $15,850. So instead of that money going back into the general fund, we would ask that you guys take and transfer that money to the maintenance fund. At this time, there's $44,560 in the maintenance fund, but there are many items that need to be repaired down at Beekman Park. We don't have the cost yet, but I can tell you it's going to definitely be more than $5,000. There's multiple issues down there as far as safety with the netting and the fencing, and those are items that we would like to address with that $15,000. See now, that's the current maintenance. New rec opportunity for the residents. So I come up with this idea of possibly offering ice skating for the town residents in January and February. In order to do that, I want to do that at Beekman Park where we have lights. So I would need the town to authorize having lights turned on down at Beekman Park for January and February. And also I would need a little bit more money from the town as to purchase more items to complete the ice skating rink. I have been offered by the Amenia Fire Company to help me get it set up and to fill it up and to maintain it. And I would look for volunteers to run have the concession stand open, playing music, serving hot chocolate a couple nights a week for the months of January and February. That would be a new item for the residents that we don't currently offer. So the last item we would like to discuss with you is the fact that we have not been able to successfully get a summer camp running this year. So with line items 71451 to 71804, all those items are for the summer rec program. That equals $39,000. What the idea here is to take that $39,000 and use that as seed money to approach other organizations within the town and within the county and go and replace the concession stand completely with a new building. The building was built in 1982 or 83 by the Lions Club, and today it just does not match the rules for the Board of Health rules or the ADA rules that are existing today. I think the town would appreciate if we came together with all the multiple organizations around town, say Wausai Art Foundation, the Silo Foundation, the Lions Club, all of us work together and actually build something useful for the town. And I would like to use that $39,000 as seed money to be able to approach these other organizations to do that. Any questions?
I have a question. I think that it's great that that as chair you are energetically pursuing some expanded activities for the Rec Commission. I guess one of the concerns I have is just, it seems like you're proposing to replicate some of the activities, like you were asking for Little League Baseball at the Wausai Park, but also improvements to Beekman Park, which is also for baseball, and where I think the Little League would typically be. You're talking about a dog park in two places, and I think in order to accomplish some of the things you'd like to accomplish, it would be better if we sort of made a decision as to where they make sense to be rather than having two. It's a town of 4,000 people. I certainly understand something like a children's playground being located in the center of Wausai, so it's easy for kids to access, but there is a children's playground already here. So I just don't want us to be spending money on things that in two places, that's all.
Right. So during our survey, a lot of residents were concerned about the idea of having to send their kids up the rail trail to Beekman Park to play baseball. So at Wausai Borden Park, they've been playing baseball down there for 50, 60 years, however long that park's been established. We already have a baseball field down there. So to put up a...
There is no baseball field there
I'm sorry?
in Wausai. There's no baseball field.
Well, it is like, it is.
It maybe looks like one, but it's
looks
not.
like
The
one.
backstop has been taken down, and nobody has played baseball there in years.
I'm being told kids do. I can only go by what residents are telling me. They're telling me that they want to to have their kids to be a chance to go down there and play baseball. And I believe, since we have 12 acres down there, I believe that we could have a multi-use field there that could serve soccer, could serve baseball, and we could put a dog park on the backside of the baseball field. It's an idea, right? So the first step would be to get a landscape architect to actually get these ideas together and see what it would cost. We don't even know what it's going to cost us. That would be the first step in my eyes.
Okay, and the other thing, you have included 2 budget lines that belong to the dance program. And that, there's 2 budget lines here that belong to the dance program that you can't include in your 39,000.
All right, so I'm not sure exactly everything that was laid out, so I was just going by what I thought was proper, so we could definitely reduce that.
There's really, it's not very good financial business sense to just take a bunch of money out of lines and just put it in another one because you think that might be what it might cost, something might cost. I mean, there's $4,600 and some odd dollars in the maintenance line. And there's also $105,000 in a savings account for any capital improvements down there.
For capital improvements, and the idea would be to use the capital improvement fund to improve Wausai Borden Park.
Well, it depends what the proposal and the plan is and the cost.
Well,
I mean, we're kind of working blind here. We're not going to be moving money out of any lines until everything is spent in the existing line.
Okay.
And then, if there's, more of a cost as far as maintenance for any of the parks, then at that point is when we would move money.
If you turn to page 2 of the pamphlet that I had into you guys, it'll show overall Beekman repairs needed. A new fence top at the big field, fencing at the batting cage, fence connection from the batting cage to the bullpen, and a brand new pitching machine and new balls. Those items there easily exceed $5,000. I can tell you that, just from being in construction.
Paul, can the rec committee get some estimates for those things?
Most certainly.
Because I think that would be helpful.
Have you spoken to the recreation groundskeeper about any of this?
Yes.
And?
Sean helped put this list together.
Okay, so does he have any estimates for
Not
any
yet.
of the cost?
No.
Because that's the line he gets materials from to do improvements. And I'm all for, doing whatever improvements need to have done.
Okay.
But you need to be talking to him about it because he's the one that, oversees all of that.
Understandable.
So did you meet with the Board of Health?
Board of Health meeting is tomorrow at 4 p.m.
Oh, right.
I'm not understanding the replacing the concession stand. The concession stand is not a standalone building. The building that's down there includes the concession stand, the bathrooms, and also storage. Are you talking about putting a separate building up for the concession stand?
No, I'm talking about taking that building down and building something brand new.
So you want to take down the existing building?
Yes, ma'am.
Paul, I'm going to be there tomorrow at 4, but I did walk around the building to just sort of see the condition and the size, and it seems like it was pretty well built by the Lions, so it would be kind of interesting to see.
If we could incorporate it into a new building, that would be great. The idea is to make the building a little bigger, right? So then we have proper bathrooms, right? If you've ever been into the men's bathroom, you can't turn around.
They don't let me in there.
All right, so the current state of the 2 bathrooms, the current state of the 2 bathrooms, we would never get ADA approval for those, right? We're just not going to be able to because they're too small. The kitchen, well, it's not even really a kitchen. All we have is a counter there, right? So if we're going to have a true concession stand that somebody could use, that we could earn money from, we need a new concession stand. And if we expanded the pavilion down there, We could also use that area to offer new items to the residents. One of the things I suggested to you guys is in the summertime, we could have weekly music concerts, but it needs to be larger than what it is now. If we also incorporated a room, a nice large area in there that residents could rent, they could also have parties down there. It would be another way for the rec commission to bring some money in. The current building is just small, right? And it was built in 1982, 83, somewhere in there. Things have to be updated. Sometimes it means just tearing them down and building it new. If we can take the building and incorporate it into something new, then great. I'm all about wanting to, do things the cheapest way. But the first thing that we have to do is we have to establish some type of money so that I can go to other organizations within the community and say, look, the town has stepped up. The town wants to do something. Will you help us out? That's the thought process behind it. As we say in the Lions Club, many hands make light work, right? If the town tries to do it on its own, it's going to be complicated. But if I go and approach these other organizations in town, then it'll be a lot easier.
But there has to be a plan.
Yeah,
We're working on that.
I have a couple of comments, Paul, and one is about the plan. And for starters, thank you for putting this all together and giving such a detailed report to the town board. It's been a long time since we've had this detailed report, and the ideas are great. When Vicki and I think it was 2 years ago now, Vicki, we did a sort of listening session and survey of ideas because there has long been dissatisfaction with the state of Wausai Park. We collected those ideas. We gave a presentation to the town board. I think I shared that with you.
Yes, you gave it to me.
And the sort of general consensus of the town board at that time was to engage a landscape architect to do some thoughts. At that point, it was summer when we made that presentation, we talked about putting that into our budget for next year. It did not make it in, so I'm fully supportive of that idea. I think others on the board are as well, and I think that would be a great first step to putting together a plan. As far as having multiple amenities in various places, some of the folks who requested dog parks are here in this room now, we've also heard opposition to the concept of dog parks. We've heard from the Wheelers in Wausai who do want baseball to come back to Wausai Park. We've heard other parents say that they don't want their kids back there because it's not, there are a lot of people in town, a lot of people have different opinions, but if we put together a plan, we can put that out there for public viewing and opinion, and then we can move forward in phases. I think it's a great idea. Two other small comments. I'm not sure if the planning for capital improvements, meaning the hiring of a landscape architect, would be considered a capital expense. It's not a maintenance expense, but could possibly be funded directly from the commission's capital budget. That's something to talk about with our lawyer. The bylaws, I've sent, just 5 seconds ago, sent a copy of another town's rec commission bylaws. Just as a sample. I'm sure you have them, but I agree we should have those put in place if they are required. And the skating idea is a great idea. If January and February are targets, then that's something that would fall under the 23 budget, and we can talk about doing something come budget season for that. Thank you.
Anything else?
That was my question too about the bylaws, if we had a sample. Thank you, Damien. Because I would like to see some, and again, these have already been set up. It's not recreating the wheel, of course, but I thought we discussed this. I was just going through our emails. I thought I had something, but I don't see it. So, but I would very much like to see the bylaws set up, and it's kind of going to be a template from what we can accomplish together. What do you think?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry, I didn't hear everything you
I said it would be a template for us, what we can accomplish together as a board and as a commission.
The commission just needs a clear direction on what we should be doing, right? So, right, we should be building a budget for you guys and delivering it to you by September 30th. We need to know who, say like the maintenance guy or the recreation person, who they should be talking to. It just needs to be a little bit clear, you know. At this time, it's just not very clear. And I think it would go a long way for the commission members if they knew exactly what they needed to do. And
Well,
that's
the
all we're asking
Recreation
for.
Commission has the worksheets for this year's budget.
I'm sorry?
The Recreation Commission has copies of the worksheets, the recreation worksheets,
All right,
for this
I'll have to
year's
I'll have
budget.
to ask Peter for that.
Paul, two comments. Is the rec center,
Marco?
is the rec center heated?
No.
Okay, so just two concerns that I have. I like your idea of the ice rink.
Yep.
One, I would suggest not using town water because it's sodium hypochlorite, salt, chlorine. It's not going to hold ice too well. Two, if it's not heated, you have a water line going up there. It could cause a lot of
Well,
damage. That's shut off in the winter, so to prevent freezing. So those two things just to think about.
The fire department would pretty much check on
No.
Where they get their water from is,
it. Yeah, I got you. I understand. Yeah, that's something we got to work out. All right.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
That's part of the maintenance at the end of the season, is to turn the water off, so the pipes don't freeze.
I wouldn't want to ice rink the bell.
Yes, no, neither would I. Any further questions?
No, just a comment from Mike. I don't know if you're getting these emails, Mike, but there's some concern about the sound quality on the broadcast.
Yes, it stinks right now. Nothing I can do about it,
Okay,
other than transmit it, out of my hands.
understood.
Oh, I have one final suggestion. I would highly suggest you guys get rid of this podium and possibly put a chair and a table here. I work construction. I work with a lot of big burly men. I have a very strong presence with them on a daily basis. When I get up here, I feel like I'm on stage. You know, I get nervous. And I'm
The
sure a
podium's
lot of-
not going anywhere. You're not the only one that
Right,
uses
right.
it.
So I would just suggest you guys consider replacing this with like just a table and a chair.
Not going to happen.
You look right yourself at TV
You know, so that way it's a conversation, it's a conversation between the town people and the board. That's it. Thank you.
See yourself on TV. Look.
Okay, we have
Just
a,
for the- Hey, I'm sorry, just for the record, real quick, the online audio is good, but the transmitter out into the cable system is wonky.
okay, the resolution to hire additional constables, we'll be tabling that to the next meeting because we still need to get more information. Resolution to adjust mileage reimbursement.
50,
50.
and I found it.
Resolution to adjust Town of Amenia mileage reimbursement rates for 2022. Whereas pursuant to Town Law, Section 116(1), the Town of Amenia compensates employees for the use of employees' personal vehicle whenever the employee utilizes such personal vehicle for town business. Whereas at the January 6, 2022 Town of Amenia reorganizational meeting, the town board established the mileage reimbursement according to the Internal Revenue Service allowable reimbursement rate for 2022 at 58.5 cents per mile. Whereas on June 9, 2022, the IRS made a mid-year adjustment to the standard mileage reimbursement rate, raising the rate to 62.5 cents per mile. Whereas the IRS increased the rate in recognition of recent gasoline price increases. Whereas the Town Board of the Town of Amenia, in recognition of the IRS mid-year increase due to rising gasoline prices, wishes to increase the allowable mileage reimbursement rate to 62.5 cents per mile. Now therefore be it resolved as follows. The recitations set forth above are incorporated in this resolution as if fully set forth and adopted herein. The town board hereby established and authorizes the allowable mileage reimbursement rate to a town employee at 62.5 cents per mile for a town employee when he or she uses their personal vehicle for town business, effective July 1st, 2022. This rate shall remain in effect until modified by further town board resolution. Can I make that motion?
I'll second.
Supervisor Perotti?
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle?
Yes.
Gutierrez?
Yes.
Blackman?
Yes.
Revillard?
Yes.
Okay, and we have a discussion about a planning grant to develop a local waterfront revitalization program as required by New York State Department of State.
I had brought some slides on my computer last time I was able to hook up. Is that an option or no?
Should be, but Mike, you can't really zoom in on this, but it would just be for our.
It would be for us,
Do
mostly.
you have them on a drive, or can you email?
I forgot to drive. I just have it on my computer.
Oh.
Last time there was an HDMI though that I could.
Yeah, you could just stick it on. Is it there?
Yeah, just pull it.
We have your printed report, right?
What's in the different window? Hopefully it's backwards. No? Yeah. Where is
Oh,
I don't know if I looked
okay.
but I emailed it to you, just click on it, make sure it works, and then it's easily forwarded.
Okay.
Where's present?
You just sent it? That's odd. I have 40 emails from Paul Winters, but I don't have one from you yet. But I will,
You can hear me? Okay. Cool.
Do we,
Okay, yes. So I
need
believe
to turn the light
everyone
on?
at this point has received a copy of the abstract we sent around.
yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. Hi. Oh, God. Hi, I'm Amanda Cabanillas. I'm the 10 Mile River Watershed Manager with the Housatonic Valley Association, and here tonight to discuss the project abstract for the grant proposal for the local waterfront revitalization program. So the local waterfront revitalization program is offered through the CFA under the consolidated funding application round 12 this year through the Department of State in order to assist municipalities located along designated inland waterways, which Wausai Creek became in 2017, in developing and advancing strategies for community and waterfront revitalization. Next slide, please. Thank you. So our project need here, why we're going after this grant, as you can see in the map there, the screen's kind of hard to see. The hamlet of Wausai has Wausai Creek flowing along through it in a heavily channelized stream corridor. So that, sorry, are we?
Sorry.
Okay, thank you. So when I say heavily channelized stream corridor, I mean that there's a high degree of floodplain encroachment through that reach, and that the stream doesn't have access to its floodplain when it comes time to store its flood waters. In addition to that, it flows along that channelized corridor until it meets an unnamed tributary by Wausai Park there, which adds to the drainage area and the amount of water coming through the system. And in addition to this lack of floodplain access, the hamlet itself lies within that tight valley there that of course drains all of its water runoff to the valley bottom, which is just a lot of water coming through that space. In 2008, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers released a reconnaissance study where the hamlet was identified as one of 2 primary centers within the 10 Mile River watershed that is prone to flooding damage. Additionally, the community has been hit with multiple flooding events and fallen within the service area of at least 2 federally declared flooding-related disasters. Much of the corridor is channelized with the land development developed right up to the top of the bank there. So you may have noticed that if you've gone through that area, what would ideally be vegetated stream banks has become hardened walls made with either concrete or wooden beams. These walls are currently in serious need of repair, with one of them on Furnace Bank Road featuring a deep fissure that extends from top to bottom, and the one on by Wausai Park leaning into the stream with dislodged beams. No, we're at the pictures here. Yeah, thank you.
Over here, dislodged beam.
Yeah, so that on the top right there, you can see that the wooden beams kind of leaning heavily into the stream channel, and then the one on the bottom is the one on Furnace Bank Road with that crack. The photo to the left is from the Army Corps of Engineers 2008 report that I believe shows flooding that occurred in 2007. So both of those 2 previous points as far as why we would need a LWRP in the hamlet of Wausai, if you could, can you go back to 2? Yeah, thank you. So both of those 2 previous bullets also offer the opportunity to expand river access in a way that creates a more dynamic and climate resilient community that'll thrive far into the future. But the work needs to be done in a holistic manner, and that's why a planning program is a key first step to implementing some of those important projects. So yeah, thank you. So this is, the LWRP process is similar to many hazard mitigation plans, any kind of management plans. You gather a group of stakeholders, a waterfront advisory committee, identify your key focus areas, develop a community outreach plan, and then one of the key steps to this one in particular would be to do an inventory and analysis, and specifically a local flood hazard analysis, an LFA. Excuse me. There have been quite a few of these local flood hazard analyses done in the Catskills through the, mostly funded by the New York City Department of Environmental Protection. This is where an engineer is hired to come into the town, survey the streams and the stream corridors, take the data collected from those assessments and those surveys, and run them through different modeling scenarios using HECRAS. I have that all spelled out in there. I always forget what that acronym stands for, but it's a way of modeling different scenarios in riverine systems. So this, once we run that analysis, then we would be able to produce a variety of potential projects that could be put in place where we would be able to kind of improve those retaining walls through there and explore ways where we can open up the floodplain and allow floodwaters to be stored the way they're meant to be while creating different access within the hamlet there. So again, has to be a holistic approach. If we were to remove one of these walls and open up floodplain access without this kind of analysis, then there could be, you could be opening up the opportunity for damage either upstream or downstream of either one of those sites. So if you want to go to the next slide, please. This grant in particular that we would be going after, we were originally thinking would cost about $150,000, just given the degree of channelization and the complexity of the system, the stream systems that run through the hamlet. After going through some of the grants that have been awarded throughout the Catskills and kind of comparing Wausai to some of the other small villages within the Catskills, I think the town of Fleischmann's seemed the closest to it, and their LFA cost about $78,000, but they don't have the degree of floodplain encroachment that we see in Wausai. So again, given the complexity of the system in that specific area, we'd imagine it would cost a little bit more. So the majority of the costs, the majority of the funds we'd be requesting would be going to the consulting engineers and any other project consultants that we'd be working with. And then we'd estimate about $15,000 going to project management. And this is the Lwrp grant is a 25% match. So we would have to come up with the $28,000, which could be done in in-kind services, which, you know, it's just time and partner contributions. So that's
When is the
rundown.
when is the due date for this application?
This is due July 29th at 4 p.m., but we would be aiming to submit by the 28th, just because we don't want to be in the last hour there.
I think it's really great, A, that you're proposing it, and B, that you've provided all the information to apply, but I'm a little bit confused as to how it would work from here. Do you need the town to apply? Do you?
Yes.
Okay.
So eligible applicants are municipalities or a county if given approval by a municipality.
Okay, and the forms besides what you prepared, are there other, I mean, have you sent us a list of other stuff that we would have to complete?
Yes, so I've emailed Mike Haggerty. I haven't heard a response yet, but looking to set up a call with him. I do believe he's familiar with the CFA, the Consolidated Funding Application, and would be able to, we'd be able to work with him in getting through that application process.
Okay. Yeah, I'm only concerned that we're running out of time, but
Yeah.
I just want to make sure we have a
definitely-
plan for,
Yes, yeah.
for doing this. Okay.
Is there some understanding of what the town's in-kind contribution could be for, in it, just to sort of, you know,
Yeah.
without doing any work, without, you know, if we're just generating a plan, what types of activities could the in-kind
This would be attending meetings, you know, just being part of the stakeholder, the Waterfront Advisory Committee, mostly things that would be, you know, already budgeted in salaries already. So there wouldn't be much additional work there, but.
Okay.
Can you tell me, I'm trying to, just by memory, you're focusing on the ones that have been man-made channels. So the stream has been formalized with some kind of concrete barriers or riprap or whatever, or the wood, whatever you call that, cribbing. So
Yeah.
is that what you're focusing on? And if so, is it on both sides of Main Street? In other words, on where it comes through the hamlet down Furnace Bank Road is all channelized, right?
Well, pretty much every bit of the bank in Wausai, for both the tributary and the creek, are like reinforced in some way. It's like
Well,
even
I
under
think
Sharon's
exactly.
store,
Yeah, but you
Well-
have to prioritize, my guess is that
Well,
you're not
so
going to take on.
prioritization would come after the analysis is done.
I
And when
see.
we go into project development and exploring what is possible there.
Yeah.
The analysis itself would be hamlet-wide and could extend upstream. That would be part of the, I think the first step in developing the LWRP is just defining our project boundary. But it would definitely consist of all stream corridors throughout the hamlet.
Yeah, this grant is a planning grant.
Yes.
Right.
I would also say, since you sat through the rec committee presentation, that the Wausai Park obviously is probably a spillway for a lot of this.
Yeah.
And I know that they want to increase access to the creek and provide fishing and walking trails. So hopefully they could, once you do the analysis, they could kind of coordinate with you in terms of, making sure that the access that you're doing, the access that they'd like to do are kind of work together.
Yeah, absolutely. And that kind of, I think, has, set the stage. Those conversations have set the stage for this next step. We have gone to, us at HVA have met with folks from Trout Unlimited, the Soil and Water Conservation District, DEC, and Supervisor Perotti, and visited the site and kind of explored the possibilities of Wausai Park as far as getting trails and whatnot in there. But again, one of our key concerns when we were over there is that failing retaining wall. And if we're going to fix that, then again, that holistic approach of just looking throughout the town.
Great.
Is this for next year's budget, really? I mean, you would apply for it in this year, but we wouldn't hear back probably
Until December, I believe.
And then we
they're
can
announced.
plan for our share one way or another. Okay.
I had a question.
Yeah,
quick
we're
question.
actually partnering.
Quick question. Because of the history of that area, Wausai, I mean, I know that it's certainly on, practically every FEMA map they've ever drawn. Is there any collaboration with you and FEMA on this project?
So we aren't working directly with FEMA. We would, of course, use their data to kind of define our project area. I'd imagine once we do have a plan together, we could, that would set the stage for, applying for FEMA funds and
Right.
whatnot. So.
Thank you.
Yeah, actually Dutchess County Soil and Water is working with us on this.
Oh, boy. Okay.
Leo, I think your point is a good one. If there's going to be hiring of landscape architects and planning for the park, I think an important first step before doing that is understanding what, if anything, needs to happen with the river. We obviously have constant flooding issues down there, and we've heard, from Sharon numerous times, from other businesses in the area, that, there's the retaining wall around that bridge that crosses from Old 22 to, right in front of Sharon's store. What is that called? That's Main Street, Old 22 to Main Street. Like, there's piles of rocks down there that encased in mesh, and they're in various stages of falling into the creek. And then there's that house that used to be the post office right up against that, and the creek actually runs under that. It's a little scary.
Yeah, which means that this opportunity is really great, because that's been a long time. I remember seeing old photographs of Wausai with giant blocks of ice in the middle of it from a sort of an incident. So, yeah, it would be really wonderful to be able to improve that.
Victoria, I don't know how many years ago, but many years ago, south of the hamlet, there was, I can't think of the woman's name, but across the street from our house, and next to the tracks, it washed out, and there were truckloads of large rocks brought in. I don't know if I'm being clear about where that is, but I remember it was quite a project to repair the bank there. I'm just wondering if that was Dutchess County that did it. I'm not clear. But it was a big deal. They actually had to bring in and rebuild the bank there. Maybe you would be familiar with that, but I was just curious who did it. Nelligan, I can't think of his sister. Oh, gosh.
I don't know, there's several fragile areas in Wausai.
Yeah, but it was complete, and it was a big project.
So do we need a motion to apply for this grant? Is that what we are looking for? And does Mike have the time to help us by the deadline? Does anybody know?
Well, I'm going to work with them.
I just had one question. So the initial stage of this is applying for the grant. Once we obtain the grant, if we're awarded the grant, then the next step would be really determining costs of what the plan would be versus what we've received from the grant and proceeding from there, correct?
Yeah, I believe the first step is to have a planning meeting with the Department of State, so our project manager through there, and they would help guide that process.
Okay, and so the grant application has to be in by the 29th, but we're planning on the 28th.
28th. Forget the 29th.
But we're partnering with Trout Unlimited,
Yes.
Wausai Project.
Wausai Project, Trout Unlimited. I just spoke with someone from DEC yesterday, DEC Fisheries. He's interested in joining a partner meeting just to hear about it. And
So we're not going into this alone.
I bet Kelsey's would jump in too.
Well, to partner, I don't know. We'll have to, actually, there's a list of the groups that are going to project partners and roles. Would be Town of Amenia, HVA, project engineer, and then Dutchess County Soil and Water, Mid-Hudson Trout Unlimited, and Wausai Project.
Victoria, just if there's any difficulty with Mike, would you let us know so we can try to come up with a plan B? I mean, it sounds like you've already spoken to him, so presumably that's
No,
okay.
I haven't. But
Okay.
I am this
But
weekend.
if there's any difficulty reaching him, just let us know, and we'll see if we can figure out something else to do.
Oh, he always returns my calls.
Good. Glad to hear.
So do we need a motion?
I had one other question with regards to in-kind services. Would the town board taking lead on this and basically attorney's fees, the time and effort that we're going to have putting in the grant writer, would that still be included in the grant?
I believe that those services, we can only apply any in-kind services after we've been awarded. So that no preparation, unfortunately.
Or the shop.
So shall I make a motion then?
Please.
So we're about to authorize our grant writer to do this,
Yeah.
And me.
and you, is there,
He's on hourly.
all right, he's on retainer already,
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll be gratis.
Well, she's on salary, but he's on hourly, so I think we're covered.
And if it's in the budget, then we can
So
proceed.
I will make a motion that we authorize Victoria Parati, along with our grant writer, and the help from the rest of the town board to assist the HVA and apply for the CFA grant.
I'll second that.
Supervisor Perotti?
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle?
Yes.
Gutierrez?
Yes.
Blackman?
Yes.
Revler?
Yes.
And
Thank
thank
you.
you very much for
Thank you.
presenting and putting this all together. We appreciate it.
Good luck.
Okay, other matters, we have a few things. Leo actually put together a spreadsheet for the RFPs for the highway garage. I don't know if everybody else has had a chance or has looked through all the RFPs, because I would like us to make a choice on the 21st when we meet in July.
I think that should be doable. Leo, this is great. I thanked you at the outset of the meeting for putting
And
this
then
together.
all of you can, do something similar.
Yep.
I would just say that the spread of prices was kind of surprising. I mean, as an architect, I've gotten bids back from contractors, and this is kind of, they often say throw out the lowest one and the highest one, but since a bunch of them cluster towards the middle, I think that the first two, there'd have to be a really good reason to hire them since it's so much more expensive. I'm a little bit nervous that the first one is in New Jersey and hasn't been in business very long, so I'm surprised they're the most expensive. And the second one...
Well, there's a reason for that.
Yeah, I guess they need to get income, right?
Yeah, they want to, start out their business with us, I guess.
I guess the ones that seemed most appealing or strongest to me were Bergman, who's sort of in the middle, but the highest of the low bids, the Tie and Bond, and Labella. I had some questions just in terms of specifically what they were providing. Labella, it seemed like did not include having being part of public hearings. So I just want to talk to them and verify that. And
okay.
I also wasn't sure the way it was worded. It sounded like they were talking about locating the garage building on the site, but not necessarily sort of designing the building or sort of figuring out what the interior layout is, which I thought could be problematic. So even though their bid is the lowest, and I thought otherwise seemed really well put together, and they actually had the most experience with garages and salt sheds.
Yeah, the county has used them.
Okay. So, I mean, I was impressed with all that stuff. I would just like to make sure. They also didn't give us a timeline. So if that's okay with everyone else, I'd like to just call them and see if I can get those questions
Well,
answered.
any of you can call them if you
Okay.
have questions.
Okay.
Because it's important that we understand, all of the RFP and, they're aware of our expectation as well.
Okay. Great.
Okay, and I also spoke to HVA about doing 2 youth stream education days in August, which they said they would, if we gave them a couple of potential dates, they could work on a session outline. They're already doing stream education days at Troutbeck with some Weebatuck students. So this is something they do on a regular basis. So I wanted to know if you wanted me to pursue this. It would be for 2 days in August.
Kelly said she'd help organize. Is that what I read in the email there?
Well, I'm going to, I'll ask her, but she usually does, as recreation supervisor.
I think it's a great idea, so.
It would be something environmental we can offer
Yeah, no, it sounds great.
the kids.
I think that's great.
And then Leo sent us information on a type of lighting what goes into the
Before
ground.
we get onto that, I had a question about the summer programs. Vicki, was the woman who we spoke to who had a family issue, was she available later in the summer or not at all?
I have not received any
answer?
response from her. I've asked and told her that we had a meeting tonight, and it was imperative for us to understand what her time frame was.
But she has not resigned. Apparently, it was on Facebook that she resigned, and she hasn't.
Oh, okay, because...
We're just waiting to hear where she is with her family situation.
Great, because I think the rec committee said that the program that's being done at
Maplebrook
Maplebrook.
School.
Thank you, Maplebrook, ends at the end of July. So if we were able to offer a camp for the month of August, that would be perfect if she's available then. That was it.
Okay, and you looked up some type of lighting that, what is it, it kind of goes, it's like...
They're very simple, and it may not be the right solution, but what I remembered seeing somewhere, and I just did some web checking, inspired by Damien. These lights are basically can be mounted to pavement or to decking, since obviously decking is part of that route. They're fairly inexpensive. They're about $8 each, and The major savings is that we don't have to have all the electric wires run. They're self-contained and they just absorb solar energy during the day.
So they just go into the ground?
They go into the ground, they operate from dusk to dawn. They actually are they're about an inch above the pavement. So I think since that's the case, you don't ideally want to drive over them or ride a bike over them. It would probably make sense to either put them down the middle as a kind of divider or to put them to the outside edges of the path. So I would be happy to order a set and pay for that, and then we could just see if that works. It seemed like something like that would not be a problem for the Wausai residents, because I don't think you would really see it at all. I mean, you'd have to kind of really look for it in any place there's planting along the trail. It would be, it's that high above the trail, so it shouldn't be very visible, and it's also a very limited amount of light. So I thought if we could set that up, neighbors could look at it and see what they think about that. And we could also, because I don't really know what the spacing ought to be, what's sort of appropriate. So I think that would just give us.
Well, is this something we want to ask John about?
I think that would make sense since, there might be something we're not thinking of or whatever. There are emergency
Since he's already
use that
working
needs to
on.
be.
Yeah, no, that would be great.
Until,
That would be great. It just was it was just so inexpensive that I thought it was worth at least looking at.
well, it
and
certainly
also-
would make it safer.
Yeah, it would definitely make it safer. There would be some kind of light that goes from one end to the other. So I think whether you're walking or biking, you're not kind of going through total darkness. So
Yeah, these are similar to the driveway lights that you
Right, that's
stick on a
basically
stake in the ground, and I think I had offered to go to Costco and pick up some.
the only difference, some of those came on a stem, and
Right.
those you actually can screw into the surface. And also on the comment section on those lights, they all talked about how fragile the stem was. So, but this seemed, these are made out of stainless steel or aluminum, so it all seemed pretty durable. I just don't know, and John might, the kind of long-term durability of the LED and the solar component. But
Well,
yeah,
you
we
could
ask.
send your email to John,
Okay,
and we'll get his opinion.
okay.
Because it certainly would be an inexpensive safety feature for the trail.
Great.
Okay, town board comments?
I want to start. I have my usual list, I'm afraid, but
Yeah, I thought I reduced that somewhat.
you did reduce some of it, but there's still a list. We talked about Morton Place, about the kind of derelict house, and I spoke to Tom, who said that the bank is close to finishing the paperwork so they actually own it.
Actually, I just got an email on that, and it's going out for auction.
Oh, okay.
So it's,
Do you have the details on that? Because I should probably let oh my God, I'm blanking out, our friends in Poughkeepsie, the housing group.
Hudson River Housing.
Yes, Hudson River Housing. If we know the details of the auction, that might be something they'd want to participate in. But I just got a call from a neighbor, and
yeah, there's going to be a public auction scheduled for September 7th, 2022.
Okay, great, I'll let them know. Okay. The parking lot striping, Megan called me when I got back from my vacation to just sort of meet her and see what it looked like, and Chris, the guy who I guess was doing the drawings, was there as well, and I think there are a
Yeah, I
couple
met
of...
with them too.
Good. It seemed like the way it was laid out seemed to be pretty effective. I suggested to Megan that we not give up the last two stops closest to the church, because it seemed like it would be useful to have
Yeah,
all
and
of the
she
11
actually
spots.
had school buses come down
Good.
and check that out.
Great.
And then they're going to be, one of the things we saw when we were down there is at the edge of the parking lot going onto the lawn, there's like a half a berm there. So that's going to be taken away
She
so
mentioned
that the
that,
water isn't pooling in there.
Yeah, that would be great. The only thing that was not included in that was signage, and because we have to indicate whose spots belong to the, yes?
I've requested from Chris,
Okay.
once there is if he can produce a final proposal to send to the board, because now that we've had the actual draw out to see, Megan inspected it to see if it's a functional layout, that he gives us an actual layout. And he's working on that, and will get that to me. As soon as I get it, I'll forward it to the board.
Okay, because one of the things that was discussed was whether their spots should just be painted a different color, or the line should be different or whatever. So I just think before we give them the go-ahead, we should make sure that those details are solved. Okay, spoke about the summer camp. See, that's something. The rail trail lighting. Oh, Victoria, you had sent a little while ago an invitation from Rebuilding Together, the organization that actually helps people stay in their houses
Right.
by doing improvements. And it occurred to me that that and also the program I mentioned from Dutchess County Office of the Aging, it might be good to put that on the website, on the town website, just to make more people aware of it.
I think it is.
Okay, I will double check that.
I'll check with
It may
Nancy.
be there, and I just didn't.
Because
see
I
it.
sent it to Nancy.
Okay, great. Took care of that. Oh, since I think the wastewater committee now is talking about having a web page, a page on the town website. It occurred to me that I don't know who's the right person to do this, but maybe we could standardize that, since a number of committees now have web pages and they're sort of starting from scratch, which also means they kind of won't make sense one after the other if one's kind of clicking through them. So I just thought it might be something that we could.
We have templates.
We do have templates for that?
Yeah, there were templates that were generated by the designer during the phase.
Yeah, by the county.
Yeah, so we can dig those up, or we can get those from I can't remember his name now. Matt.
Great, that would be really good.
And then populating them, once they know what info, like where the picture goes, where the copy goes, where all that, it should be pretty easy to make it look.
No, that would be great, because it sounded like when I spoke to committee people that they were just trying to invent it from scratch, and I thought there must be like a better way to do it, so that's great. So if you can find that, Damien, that would be terrific.
Sure.
And the last thing was there is another grant possibility. The
WQIP.
The WQIP, water quality something.
Yeah, I have all the information on it.
That is actually usable for land acquisition for
Yes, it
water.
is.
So, but again, it's due the same date. It's July 29th. So,
Right.
Did you have any thoughts on how to deal with that? Because it would be great to apply
Well, we have to
for,
have an idea of what land we're going to get and
Okay.
what we're going to, and we may be getting more information tomorrow on
Okay,
that
great.
meeting.
All right, that is actually my whole list. How about that? Not as bad as usual.
Next.
Brad, do you have anything?
Not for this meeting, but for next, I'm just working on something
Okay.
but not this meeting.
A surprise.
I just wanted to put out on TV the notice that you sent around, Victoria, for this Saturday, the drive-through document shred event in Lakeville at Salisbury Bank. It's also a food drive. So it's 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. At 5 Bissell Court in Lakeville. If you have documents to shred and food to donate, go by there. And you had also sent another email, Victoria, asking about our interest in applying for a grant to update the comprehensive plan for solar updates, applying for that grant.
Right.
I don't know if there was further discussion amongst the board members, but that seemed like a good idea to me. So I don't know if we...
Yeah,
Was
I
that a
think
specific
that
grant?
was the Greenway.
Greenway, okay.
Because didn't we get a Greenway grant when we first did the comprehensive plan, or
We
no?
got a number of grants. One was from the Department of State. Greenway did help us with like a $5,000 or $10,000 grant, and there is a match, but it can be in kind, so
Yeah.
volunteers can track their time.
Because I usually when I get their newsletters, I always look and see who else got a grant and what they got it for.
Okay.
And I saw there were quite a few grants that people had gotten for updating their comprehensive plan.
Yep, Town of
That's
Easton,
terrific.
Town of Lloyd, they all got about $10,000 each,
Yeah.
so if we can apply for a $10,000 grant to help us do that update,
Yeah,
that's
I just
great.
hope the deadline isn't July 29.
September 2nd.
No, that's a September one.
September, okay.
September 2nd, September
Okay.
2nd.
Well, that's
So-
why I sent it to everybody,
Great.
because I thought it was timely.
Yep.
So, I mean, I would make that motion to authorize the supervisor, along with our grant writer, to apply for that grant with the goal of getting funds to update our comprehensive plan.
Great, I'll second that. Although I'm, embarrassed to always be seconding things.
Supervisor Perotti?
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle?
Yes.
Gutierrez?
Yes.
Blackman?
Yes.
Revelor?
Yes.
Okay, are there any other town board comments?
I have some comments. I have, we got a notice in June that we received $3,500 for Amenia's free theater arts program, and it will be in round dates to be firmed up, but mid-September through mid-December, as we've held in the past, pre-COVID. Heather Holohan Garneri will be our instructor, and part of the grant included funds for a assistant instructor.
Wow.
So we do have in the budget $4,000 for her salary and $500 for supplies. We would also need a videographer and a sound system. So we'll probably need to amend this budget accordingly to accommodate some of the requests. I did ask for more than I normally did. Normally it's $1,500 to $2,000, but I thought it's so important for our instructor to have an assistant, because if one child needs to use the restroom, everything has to stop. So I think $1,500 for an assistant would be, is what I applied for, and they bumped up our grant accordingly. So I'd like to, I'm not sure if that can go into the instructor line, or if that needs to be a separate line, but I guess I can work with Marge to find out if we can just put $1,500 more into that line.
Yeah, just check with her. I don't see why you couldn't, but we'll see.
Okay.
Because that is an instructor line.
Yeah. I did get a press release, and it was forwarded, I think, to the rest of the town board. We were very pleased to find out that we were accepted into the Local Champions Program. It's a program of Partners for Climate Action Hudson Valley, which accepted 10 volunteers in the Hudson Valley to be part of a cohort for its second cycle of training, and each volunteer is going to be trained, and our volunteer is going to be Stacy Mantle. So she was accepted into the program, and I have agreed to act as her liaison to the town board.
That's great.
So
And that's why she had to resign from the other committee.
that's right. She has is already focusing very hard. She's already put together a little video. We did it last weekend on the rail trail, and how that is already providing an alternative to vehicular transportation between Wausai and the train station. So she is already working away on this, and it brings nonprofit funding to direct climate action. The town has already achieved a number of goals towards energy efficient projects. This town hall has already had many energy improvements done, and we just have to log those achievements into the portals that allow us to get points for those. But it's a very complex project, and it's so far defied a volunteer, the capacity of our volunteers to do that. So she is, in fact, going to be trained, and we're going to start in August learning how we can expedite that process so we can get bronze certification, which allows us to get further grants to help further our projects.
Which is great.
I did talk to a number of people who could help us if we were able to put a summer program together, depending on our camp director being available sometime this summer. And it does seem like it is possible. We would have to do more advertising, obviously. And the application has not been submitted, so a lot of camp forms would have to be done. But there's a lot of people with skills in this community who are willing to help, who can train lifeguards, who can provide the first aid and the CPR training that's appropriate for camps. So we have those skills right here in this community, and they are eager to help us if we can just find out what our availability is of our summer camp director.
Great.
That's all I have. Thanks.
Okay, I'm afraid I have one more. I would be remiss if I didn't inform our TV audience that the Amenia Housing Board received a grant, and there's going to be an event at Town Hall Saturday, July 30th, from 10 a.m. to noon about housing issues in Amenia. One of the parts of that will be discussing the proposal by Hudson River Housing to develop a piece of property for some affordable units, and to talk generally about what people's needs and interests are. So we'd be very happy to have people come and give us their thoughts. Okay, that's really it.
Okay, at this time, we're going to have to go into executive session to discuss Kent Hollow litigation. So I make that motion to come out of regular meeting, go into executive session. The town clerk, Councilman Blackman, and Councilwoman Doyle are excused.
Second.
We don't need to vote on that. We're going to
Yes.
go into executive session, or do we?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Damien, that was you?
Yep.
I was looking down writing, I'm sorry. Supervisor,
Ian,
Yes.
I received that.
Councilpersons Doyle,
Yes.
Blackman,
Yes,
Gutierrez,
Yes.
just making sure because you always look right at me.
I know, it doesn't
And
work.
Rutland.
Yes.
I've learned.